Okay, so today we're going to be discussing pyramids and how to find their surface area and volume. First off, a pyramid is typically defined by what its base is. In this example here, we have a triangular prism because its base is a triangle. If I were to take this shape and unfold it to make its net, this is what it would look like. When we're finding the lateral surface area of this type of shape, we're finding the area of all of these parts around except for the base. When I'm finding the total surface area, I'm finding all of these areas plus the area of the base. Now, pyramids can come in many different shapes, right? We've got the triangular pyramid. We've also got something called a square pyramid, where the base is a square. This is what its net would look like. You can actually keep adding sides to the base. We could have a pentagonal pyramid, hexagonal pyramid, so on and so forth. But for the purposes of what we're doing, we're typically just going to deal with a triangular or a square or rectangular pyramid. With that in mind, let's go ahead and jump over to the notes. So, we have the lateral surface area, and volume formulas we need to learn. The lateral surface area formula is 1/2. Hello? Okay. Sorry, that was weird. 1/2 perimeter times slant height, or if you prefer, you could do perimeter times slant height divided by 2. Again, this symbol here is new to us, is the slant height. And we'll discuss what slant height is in a second. But for now, let's finish writing down each of these equations. The formula for the surface area is going to be the same as the lateral surface area plus the area of my base. Remember, big B stands for area of base. And last but not least, the formula for the volume is going to be 1/3 area of the base times the height. Or if you prefer, area of the base times the height divided by 3. With that in mind, let's go ahead and start example number 1. So example 1 we have here. We're trying to find the lateral surface area and the surface area. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite down those formulas. Lateral surface area is 1/2 perimeter times slant height. And the surface area is the same thing, plus the area of the base. So I'm going to need 3 variables: perimeter, slant height, and area of the base. Now the slant height is the length from the tip of my pyramid down the outside to the base, and it will make a 90-degree angle. So in this instance, my slant height is 11.7. The perimeter and area of the base both deal with the base. So I'm going to make myself a little 2D sketch of my base right here. This is an 8 by 8 square. So every single side here is going to be 8. The perimeter adds up all the sides of my shape. So 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Or if you prefer, 8 times 4. Big B is the area of the base. My base is a square. So to find the area of the square, I've got to do base times height. Now remember, when we're finding the area of the base, we are ignoring the 3D shape, and we're just looking at this 2D shape. The base of my 2D shape is 8, and the height of my 2D shape is 8. So the area of my base is 8 times 8, which is 64. Now I've got all 3 variables. I can go ahead and plug it in to my formulas over here and find out what the lateral area and surface area are. The lateral area is 1/2 perimeter, which is 32, times the slant height, which is 11.7, which when I plug into the formula, or into the calculator, I get 187.2, and my unit is meters squared, because we're discussing area. Surface area is going to be the lateral surface area, 187.2, plus the area of the base, 64. When I plug this into the calculator, I should get 251.2 meters squared. With that in mind, let's go ahead and try out example number 2. Now, as a brief heads up, if you got the filled-in version of the notes from me, these answers are going to be slightly wrong because I entered them in the calculator wrong when I made my key. But they're going to be correct on today's video. So, again, we're trying to find the lateral area and surface area. The lateral area formula is 1/2 perimeter times slant height. And the surface area is the same thing, plus the area of the base. So again, I'm going to need perimeter, slant height, and area of the base. Let's start with these two pieces, because they both deal with my base. Looking at my shape, my base is a 16 by 16 square. So, 16 all the way around. The perimeter is 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16, or 16 times 4 sides, which is 64. The area of the base is very similar to how we did on number 1. Base times height, ignoring the 3D shape, just looking at my 2D shape for now. The base of this is 16. The height of this 2D shape is 16. And when I plug that in, I should get 256. Now, we can look back at the 3D shape. The slant height, again, goes from the tip along the outside to the base. Right now, we don't have that measurement. But what we can do is we can take this measurement here and draw a line like this to make ourselves a right triangle. I'm going to sketch that right triangle right here for us. The height of this right triangle is 3. The base of this right triangle starts at the middle of my base and goes over. So it's going to be half the length of my base, which half of 16 is 8. And we don't know what the diagonal is, so we're going to call it x. Now, remember, to find the missing side of a triangle, when I have 2 of the 3 sides, I have to use Pythagorean theorem. Specifically, this only works whenever it's a right triangle, which luckily for us, it is. So, the long side is always going to be labeled C, and then whichever side is labeled A or B, it doesn't matter. We'll call this side A and this side B. Pythagorean theorem says that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's plug in our values. A is 3 squared, plus B is 8 squared, equals C, we don't know, squared. Now, because I've already got all my numbers isolated on this side, I can go ahead and just get rid of this square by taking the square root of each side. That cancels the square out, leaving me just x. And whenever I type this into Desmos, I should get 8.54. Now that I have that, that would be my slant height. And now I have everything I need in order to plug stuff in and find out what my answer is. The lateral surface area is going to be 1/2 perimeter times the slant height, which when I plug into the calculator, I should get 273.28 feet squared. For the surface area, I'm going to do 273.28, the lateral surface area, plus the area of the base. That was odd. Let's scroll down. Plus the area of the base, which is 256. Whenever I add that together, I should get 529.28 feet squared. Remember, make yourself a triangle if you need to, and do Pythagorean theorem. You don't always have to, but if you're missing information, you might need to. With that in mind, let's try example number 3. Now we're moving into volume. The volume formula was the area of the base times the height divided by 3. So I only have 2 variables here, area of the base and the height. The height of my prism is right here, 19. My base is a right triangle, so I'm going to go ahead and reorient this right triangle so that the 90 degrees is right here. The long side is 22.1, and this side is 14. I don't know what the bottom of my triangle is, and we need to figure that out, because to find the area of the base, I need to do 1/2 base times height, because this is the formula for a triangle. Now, as a quick side note, this h here and this h here are different heights. This refers to the height of my base. This refers to the height of my prism. So whenever we're looking for big B, we're going to ignore the prism and just look at my 2D shape. Because I'm missing this side here, I have to use Pythagorean theorem to find it first. So we're going to call this A, B, and C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Cool. Let's move this around so that we get x by itself. I want to move the 14 squared over to the other side, and I do that by subtracting 14 squared. That cancels it out over here. And I can't subtract the bases yet because I haven't evaluated what the square is. So I'm just going to leave them next to each other. Like so. I still have x squared though. To get rid of the square, I need to square root both sides. That cancels out the square, leaving me just an x. And then, whenever I plug that into the calculator, I should get 17.1. So, the base of my triangle is 17.1. With that, now I have everything I need to find out the area of my base. I'm going to do 1/2. The base of my 2D shape is 17.1. The height of my 2D shape is 14, which gives me 119.7 for the area of my base. Now I have the area of my base and my height. It's as simple as plug and chug. Volume is the area of the base times the height divided by 3, which gets me 758.1 meters cubed. Remember, we're cubed because we're looking at volume. All right, we have one more problem. Example 4. We're doing the volume, so we're going to use the same formula as before, with big B being the area of this triangle here. So again, I'm using 1/2 base times height because my base is a triangle. And the height of my prism being given to me. All that's left to do is the area of my bases. Now my base is a triangle with a measure of 10 on each side. So the base of my triangle is going to be 10. But the height of my triangle, I don't know yet, because the height has to make a 90-degree angle with my base. So we're going to draw this line here and make ourselves a triangle. Now, because this is an equilateral triangle, whenever I draw this in, it perfectly cuts this base in half. So that means that this part here is 5. I don't know what the height is, so we'll label it x. And I know what this part here is. Again, you might be thinking to yourself, please, no, I don't want to do it again, but we have to. We're going to use Pythagorean theorem. This is going to be my A, B, and C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. To move the 5 squared over, I have to subtract 5 squared. And then to get rid of the square root, to get rid of the square, I have to square root. And that will give me 8.66 for the height of this triangle here, which I'll plug into this formula to find out the area of my base. Whenever I do this, I should get 43.30. Now I have everything I need to plug in and find out what my volume is. 43.30 times 16 divided by 3 gives us 230.93 meters cubed. That is all for pyramids. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. Otherwise, have a good day.